My beloved, do you think it's an accident that you're hearing my voice right now? No. Heaven planned this moment long before you took your first breath. Here on Holy Voices, we share the whispers of eternity, the messages that change hearts and awaken destinies. If your soul is ready, stay with me, because what you're about to hear might be the very word your spirit has been waiting for. Don't just watch, join. Subscribe, press like, and write in the comments what Holy Voices has spoken to your heart. Someone has been closely observing you. Something they've noticed has them in a complete panic. You no longer view them in the same manner. When you see them gone, you lose that spark in your eyes. When they called, the enthusiasm in your voice disappeared. They may sense in their bones that you have lost any emotional connection with them. Everything that has been occurring to you lately will make sense when I tell you what I'm going to divulge. The strange meetings, the unannounced visits, the sudden interest in your life after being ignored for months. Everything has a purpose. And you'll have a very different perspective on this individual once you realize what they're actually intending. The plan to manipulate babies is only the first step. Hold off until you find out how they blocked your initial connection. You thought you were creating something genuine with this person when you were giving them your entire being. They were leading a whole false life. They were in a 5-year commitment with someone else the entire time, not just for fun. They made you feel like you had a chance while they were engaged, married, or in a committed relationship. This is going to blow your head away. They were meant to have you alongside them. Everything was prearranged in the universe. Perfect alignment, divine timing. Everything is in place for the two of you to create something stunning. It was blocked by something or someone. They took a decision that defied their own fate. There were always signs. They had to answer the calls in secret. They were inexplicably inaccessible on the weekends. The fact that they never shared photos of you two together. The hesitancy when discussing the future. The truth was screaming out of your gut. However, they deceived you into disregarding it. Giving bits of themselves to several individuals yet never really committing to anyone, they have been living in two different universes. They believed they would be able to handle this indefinitely. The universe, however, had other ideas. They know that their carefully woven web of falsehoods is about to fall apart. They are not laying a random pregnancy trap. They're becoming desperate since they realize they made a poor decision. It's really cool how they determined that you're done using them. They vividly recall this particular chat. You were speaking when everything changed, and your vibe suddenly transformed. Your answers became more succinct. You lost focus. Something they had never seen before took the place of the adoring gaze you used to offer them. Lack of interest. While they were talking, they observed you looking at your phone. They saw that you were no longer amused by their jokes. You no longer leaned into their contact like you once did. The same horrifying truth was conveyed to them by every signal they had learned to read from you. You were checking out emotionally. There was no drama. There was no heated argument or emotional altercation. It was more devastating than that, and quieter. Your soul just determined that enough was enough. They could feel the changeover happening in real time as the area of you that used to light up around them became black. At first, they attempted to ignore it. They assured themselves that it was only a phase and that it will pass. However, they were forced to confront the reality as the days stretched into weeks and your emotional isolation simply widened. For too long, they had pushed you too far. At that point, the terror began. They started doing calculations at that point. At that point, they began organizing the upcoming manipulation effort. The baby plan is flawed. Hold off until you comprehend their entire plan. Something triggered in their brain the instant they understood you no longer wanted them. It seemed like the worst mistake of their lives to have taken you for granted for so many months, thinking you would always be available. They had been playing a game where they ignored you while they worked out their sticky predicament. They believed they had endless time. They thought your affections for them would last forever. They believed they could drag you along for as long as it took them to decide what they truly wanted. All of those presumptions were destroyed by your emotional retreat. They felt helpless for the first time in all of this. They were used to being in charge of regulating the relationship's temperature. They were frigid when they needed space and hot when they sought attention. Their safety net had been your constant warmth, and it was gone now. Something primal in them was sparked by this loss of control. They began to view you as a vanishing possession rather than as a human being with real emotions. They're going to use tactics that have nothing to do with love. They have to do with dominance and ownership. Their following movements will surprise you. The fictitious crises, the conversations about getting pregnant, and the abrupt marriage talk are all related to the same desperate objective. Keep your seat belted for this next surprise. They've been thinking about purposefully starting a pregnancy if you don't already have kids together. They believe a baby will entice you to stay with them, not because they want to start a family with you out of love. Pregnancy, in their perverse mind, equates to automatic forgiveness. You will have to give them another chance if they have a child. They're figuring that you won't be able to leave them entirely if there's a baby involved. For those who are already juggling a pregnant scenario, this is their passport to success. They intend to utilize this to entice you back into their control system. You may be surprised to learn how deeply ingrained the despair is in these choices. This is getting worse because of something in their present relationship. It's quite unsettling what's truly killing them. This individual is struggling with acute depression behind closed doors. And it all stems from the way they handled you. Every discussion you had on your future together is replayed. All of your ideas, all of your shared dreams of creating something lovely. They are aware that they have destroyed a sacred object. They're drowning in regret about ruining a committed relationship if you were previously in one. They are unable to deny that something that was supposed to last forever was destroyed by their decisions. They are being crushed by the knowledge that their decision was incorrect. They look at their current circumstances every day and contrast them with what they may have had with you. They lie awake every night, reflecting on the lives they wasted. They're going to do something that will expose their true emotional immaturity rather than confronting this remorse head-on. This is the reason why their depression is getting worse. They can't stop thinking about the late-night discussions you had about your future ceremony, the wedding, the guest list, and the honeymoon spots you both looked into. Now that they know they ruined something that was meant to be sacred, those dreams are tormenting them. They're haunted by the promises they broke if you two were previously married. They're saddened by the future they tossed away, especially if you two were planned to be married. They are reminded of what they lost at every wedding they attend. Every contented couple experiences remorse. All around them are reminders of the life they were meant to create with you. Their further attempts at manipulation will therefore be heavily reliant on commitment pledges. They will make an effort to persuade you that marriage is still feasible. You are about to witness a truly disgusting level of desperation. Not everyone is a fan of the Holy Voice's inner order. It's for the people who emerged from hell radiant and with a smile. Being loved is not why you came here. Remembering who you are is the reason you came here. We also remember you. There is no community here. The spiritual elite use it as a battle room. A headquarters for reality benders, timeline jumpers, and curse breakers. Weekly Zoom calls are live frequency upgrades in which the veil lifts, codes unlock, and dragons speak. You'll have access to transmissions from the past that were never intended for the general public, energetic technology, and elite downloads. Since most people can't manage what you hold inside, let's face it. You don't recover. Click the link in the description to resurrect, reclaim, and reign. Welcome to the Holy Voice's Inner Order, where you become the source if you're sick of superficial nonsense and ready to join the anointed at their meal. Prepare yourself for this. They're going to start making pathetic efforts to get you back. And by half-hearted, I mean that despite their purported support for you, they are still unwilling to make a sincere attempt. You will witness lofty gestures that are devoid of meaning. Flowers will be sent to you without a handwritten note. They will reserve seats at pricey places for supper, but they will arrive late. They will make grandiose statements promising you the world, but the very next day they will be engaging in the same harmful practices. Without really asking them to alter anything essential about themselves, these attempts are meant to give them the appearance that they are making an effort. They will make commitments they have no intention of honoring because they want to be able to say, I did everything I could while doing the absolute minimum. I'm going to therapy. I'll let you have them. I'll make all the changes. But pay attention to what they do, not what they say. There will never be a treatment appointment set up. The departure will continue to be delayed. There will never be a change. Their sincere belief that these flimsy measures will suffice to win back your heart is the most offensive aspect. They believe that any attempt should impress you because your standards have become so low. They will soon discover how mistaken they are. It's truly fascinating what caused you to become emotionally immune to their deception. God multiplies what you release. Sow $20, $50, or $100 into holy voices and trust His increase. 2 Corinthians 9 verse 10. You became acutely aware of this individual. They believed they had perfectly concealed their affairs. You are aware of every one of them. You can now easily identify the lies they told since they were so persuasive. You can clearly see how easily they employed manipulation techniques. This clarity goes beyond simple insight. It is a superpower. They can no longer employ psychological tricks to deceive, confuse, or manipulate you. More than anything else, they are terrified by the fact that you have evolved beyond their reach. It took time for the change to occur. It happened gradually, like if scales were dropping out of your eyes one by one. You first became aware of discrepancies in their accounts. After that, you started to doubt their justifications for acting suspiciously. When the whole picture finally came into focus, you could see them for who they truly are. What sets the chosen apart from the general population is their awakening. You chose truth above comfort, while others might stay in denial. You choose transparency over ambiguity, whereas some might justify poisonous behavior. For someone who depends on lying to stay in power, this level of awareness is dangerous. They used to be able to guess how you would react. To get you back in line, they understood just what buttons to press. They are aware that that power will never return. Their sanity is being pushed to the limit by your unpredictable behavior. It is just pitiful how this is impacting their day-to-day existence. They can no longer figure you out. The individual who once talked about every aspect of their day has stopped talking altogether. They are unaware of your plans, thoughts, where you are going, and who you are speaking to. Since they are unable to control what they cannot access, they are spiraling since you have denied them entrance to your inner reality. Since they no longer have any control over the course of your life, they are alternating between anger and desperation. You become a mystery for a reason. By establishing uncertainty and distance, your soul is defending itself. Now, you're acting instinctively, guided by an inner wisdom that is fully aware of how to deal with manipulative people. They used to be able to hear your thoughts and emotions directly. They could be able to foresee your reactions, sense your moods, and plan their next course of action appropriately. They are going completely crazy because that access has been totally taken away. Your social media accounts are likely being stalked, mutual connections are being questioned about you, and every encounter is being examined for hints about your mental health. The individual who formerly knew everything about you is now totally cut off from your world. As a result of this loss of control, they are considering drastic measures, and you will be astounded to see how far they will go to regain control. They are still haunted by their awful initial impression. This pattern is more profound than you may think. This is the reason. They are aware that the harm cannot be repaired. Come to beat them. They were well aware that they had ruined this relationship right from the start. They are aware of how disastrous that initial impression was. They entered your life with the wrong attitude, the wrong goals, and the incorrect degree of dedication. All of your conversations ended because they wouldn't support them. You were never given priority by them. They waited for your ongoing investment while remaining emotionally distant. They refused to give you the relationship advancement you required, thus it never happened. They can clearly recognize their mistakes when they look back. They ought to have been reliable from the start. They ought to have made their intentions apparent. Instead of leaving you wondering where you stood all the time, they ought to have given you a sense of security. Rather than being honest, they opted for games. Convenience was more important to them than dedication. They put their comfort ahead of your sentiments. Every decision they made in those early days laid the groundwork for the current situation. They're seeing that their choices about how to present themselves are directly responsible for everything that happens to them. They began a game with the belief that they might influence the result, and they are about to suffer a devastating defeat. They realize how different things could have been if they had made a different decision right away, and the remorse is eating them alive. However, some first impressions are irreversible, and some blunders cannot be corrected. It's truly amazing how things changed in your favor. You became aware that this individual uses the same strategy with everyone. The lack of communication, the lack of emotional support, and the manipulating techniques. They go through this cycle with everyone they meet. You started to see a roadmap-like outline of their whole relationship history. The way they handled their former partner before you is exactly the same as how they handled you, and they are treating their current circumstance in the same destructive manner. It was like discovering the final puzzle piece after this realization. All of a sudden, it made clear. They weren't being personal. It was pathological. They weren't having a hard time loving you. No one could be properly loved by them. You gained tremendous strength from the pattern recognition since it dispelled the delusion that you could alter or repair them in some way. You came to the realization that everyone who had gone before you had most likely attempted the same things. It's likely that everyone who comes after you will feel the same frustrations you had. Because they have never experienced genuine repercussions for their actions, this individual has never learned how to love. They simply go from one person to another, leaving the same path of bewilderment and heartache in their wake. It's the first time you've truly noticed the pattern. The first person to reject to be a part of their toxic loop is you. You are the first to truly mean it when you say enough. You regained your power because of this realization. This is what transpired next. You stopped playing by their rules and began playing by your own without even recognizing it. You were learning, developing, and getting stronger while they were being aloof and unavailable. You played checkers, and they thought they were playing chess. They thought they could use you as a fallback while they worked out their messy lives. They started a psychological battle in which they were in complete control. The balance of power has been totally reversed. They can sense that you're going to win their own game. They realize they are about to lose everything when they look at the board. However, there is a painful aspect of how you used to give to them that you must first comprehend. Together, you would plan. They would defend you throughout significant occasions, weekend getaways, and dinner dates. Not again, not once. This became one of their signature moves. They would just not show up after you prepared, got to the place, and waited for hours. No phone contact, text message, or explanation until much later, along with a feeble justification about being busy or an upcoming event. Your heart shattered every time this occurred. Every cancellation eroded your confidence. Every no-show caused you to doubt your own value. Did they not value you enough to keep their promises? In reality, this standing you up sequence was a power move. They were teaching you to be less demanding. Instead of demanding the feast you deserved, they were teaching you to settle for crumbs. The universe was preparing someone who would never disappoint you each time they failed to show up for you. This is where things changed for you. You recall that conversation in which you opened out to them completely. Perhaps you asked them about your feelings for them, your concerns, or your dreams, and they responded with the most emotionless response you had ever experienced. Perhaps they simply accepted something you shared that was very personal. Perhaps they promptly shifted the topic. Perhaps their response had nothing to do with what you had just discussed. Something inside of you broke and something inside of you woke up in that instant. You became aware that your emotional relationship was one-sided. Someone was handing you emotional crumbs in exchange for your complete heart. While they stayed aloof and closed off, you were open and genuine. You stopped trying so hard at that point. You ceased to express your innermost feelings. You ceased looking for their affectional approval. You ceased filling their empty vessel with liquid from your cup. They saw the shift right away. All of a sudden, they were not receiving the emotional support to which they had become used. They no longer had unrestricted access to your heart, and as they had never had to earn it in the first place, they had no idea how to do so. The reason behind their current panic is your emotional detachment. They are at last understanding what they lost when you denied them unrestricted access to your inner life. The Trump Day Band. The most desperate campaign you have ever seen is about to begin. They are organizing social media manipulation campaigns, staged emergencies, and appearances at work. They will enlist your family, friends, and everybody else they can find to join their plot. Instead of admitting that they lost something valuable as a result of their own decisions, they are prepared to publicly humiliate themselves. They'll try to incite jealousy, disseminate lies, and fabricate drama. Whatever it takes to get back into their position of authority in your life. This is where things really go crazy, though. They are no longer only after you. They're going to start a massive manipulation campaign that will involve everyone in your social circle. In an attempt to cut you off from your network of support, they will make your mutual friends into flying monkeys by spreading false information about you. They'll tell your buddies that you're inspired by someone else or that you're going through a phase. Your $100 gift through Super Thanks is not just support, it's prophecy. You are speaking into your own future harvest. They will portray you as the bad guy and themselves as the victim. They will try to influence you to give your pals another chance and make them doubt your judgment. This is no longer merely manipulation. Psychological warfare is what this is. They will soon discover that those who are selected do not battle alone. All of this has been observed by the universe. It is quite amazing what is being planned for you as they plan their resurgence. This is what this individual doesn't comprehend. They can't just re-enter your life by manipulating you. They can't get past your spiritual defense since you are a chosen one. Their attempts at manipulation will all fail. Every attempt at guilt will fail. You will become even more aware of who you truly are in response to every effort to cause you to doubt yourself. The cosmos is working together to protect you from their poison while also setting the stage for something lovely to happen in the future. Their next frantic move will actually push you farther away rather than closer because of how strong this protection is. Something amazing is about to happen when you realize how valuable you really are. You had this epiphany when you realized that you were worthy of something far superior than what they had been providing. Not merely marginally superior, not merely distinct, but immeasurably superior. You were not created to persuade someone to love you in a healthy way. You weren't picked to wait forever for someone to see your worth. You deserve the entire feast. You weren't supposed to settle for crumbs. This insight is the turning point in your life. You were prepared for everything that was going to happen after this moment by everything that had transpired before it. Your long-held toxic energy is going to be freed forever. You must comprehend another aspect of the bridge that connects you to them. This is how it will take place. In actuality, this person's energy is toxic to your spiritual health. You come away from every encounter exhausted, perplexed, and doubting your own reality. This is an affection. It's vampirism with energy. You are being called to recognize the truth of this circumstance. You are about to pass this test with flying colors. A lesson you learned completely. A stepping stone from which you are prepared to go indefinitely. You have to break this poisonous bond totally if you want to receive what the universe has in store for you. Not lessen it, not curtail it, but utterly destroy it. Given what is currently approaching in your life, this is quite important. There's something we need to be absolutely honest about. This harm is just too great to ever be rectified. There are too many unfulfilled promises. Too many falsehoods. They have picked someone else over you far too often. They left you hanging for much too long without providing an explanation. They never returned to offer a sincere apology. They never tried to truly make apologies. They simply left everything up in the air, assuming you would wait forever while they worked out their mess. The foundation cracked with each betrayal. Every falsehood increased the level of suspicion. More of the love you once experienced washed away with each broken promise. It's not only that the bridge between you is broken. It is utterly ruined. You made several attempts to construct it. You extended forgiveness. They continued destroying whatever you attempted to rebuild despite your repeated attempts to give them second, third, and fourth chances. The cosmos is telling you that some bridges are supposed to fall apart entirely so that you can rebuild them with individuals who will respect them. The cosmos has been planning something lovely just for you, while this person has been planning their desperate return. Someone who will love you the way you've always deserved to be loved is getting ready. Without your needing to ask, this person will regularly turn up. You won't have to interpret conflicting messages from them since they will speak clearly. You won't have to fight for their attention, they'll prioritize you. Rather than pulling you down, they will work with you to build. You'll question why you ever settled for less when you see the stark contrast between what you've been tolerating and what you're about to get. You underestimate how intimate this new love is. This is what must occur in order for it to materialize. You have to let go of everything that was never meant for you in order to experience this wonderful love. You must demonstrate to the universe that you are sincere about getting what is rightfully yours. You're preventing your own miracle from happening as long as you're spiritually linked to someone who mistreats you. You make room for the magical the instant you let go of the toxic. It's not enough to reject one individual. This is about taking ownership of your destiny as a person selected for excellence and love. This very moment is your moment of greatest power. This is the selected one. Your turning point in life. You have two options. You can trust the universe's design for your life, or you can believe their lies about change. You have the option to move forward into the magnificent love that has been written especially for your soul, or you can choose to regress into dysfunction that you are comfortable with. The individual who has been manipulating your emotions is going to take it to a new level that you never imagined. They will use every tactic they are aware of. If you're not ready, they might even achieve temporary success. But now you know the truth. Their patterns are familiar to you. You are aware of their shortcomings. Above all, you are aware of your extraordinary value. You were chosen to experience love in its purest, most powerful form. You were chosen to shatter generational patterns of dysfunction, one person said. You weren't meant to wait or to persuade. This journey you've been on, with all the pain, confusion, and heartbreak, was preparing you for the love story of a lifetime. When you make the right decision, when you fully let go of what was never meant for you, everything will fall into place. You were chosen to be a living example of what can happen when you refuse to accept less than you deserve. That person had to show you who they really were so you could see it clearly. You had to lose your feelings for them so you could save them for someone worthy. You had to experience toxicity so you could see purity when it came. You will see why every heartbreak was necessary, why every disappointment was actually a redirection, and why every ending was actually a beginning. You have a choice, and your future self is waiting. Everything that broke you was preparing you for everything that will heal you. Beloved soul, if this message has spoken to your heart, don't let it end here. Click that like button so the light can spread to more people who need hope. Subscribe to Holy Voices so you never miss the next word heaven has for you. And leave a comment below. I read every one, and I pray over them. Remember, faith grows when we share it, so share this message with someone who needs to hear it today. Until we meet again, may God's peace cover you and His voice guide your every step.